it is Jake from Snow CC. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us once again for the latest episode of our racing vlog. And this time we're coming back. We were here again last week. Last Sunday we did the Evo CC race series on Downtown Titans and we won. We got a 1-2. Colin led us out. We had our teammate Colin doing all the hard work in the sprint and we mugged him on the line. In case you don't remember, this is what it looked like. And so this week we are back. We are reigning, defending and undisputed champion of B category for the Evo CC race series. It's the same course, so we're going to have the exact same run at it, but this time we're going to be solo. We're not going to have Colin, we're not going to have anybody. We're going to have to do it alone. So that means we're going to be trying to fight for the win, trying to retain our title solo. And that means it's going to be really difficult because we're not going to have any teammates to do the dirty work for us this time. We're going to have to do it all ourselves. And I decided, look, we won in the sprint last time. We haven't got a teammate to lead us out this time. It'd be a bit boring doing a sprint again. So we're going to try something a bit different. We're going to try and spring the attack on them a little bit earlier. No matter what this time, whether we've got a good chance at the sprint and we think we can win the sprint, we're not going to wait for the sprint. We're going to go early. There's a little bit of a rise, about 2k out from the finish, just when you go past the bridge after the sprint. I think that's going to be the best place to go. So today we're going to have two targets. Number one, can we retain the belt? Number two, can we do it solo by attacking from far out? We're going to try and make it a little bit different. We wouldn't want two wins that looked exactly the same, so let's see if we can get the win solo. And if we don't, it doesn't matter. We're just here to try and get some fitness, build up our strength for the ZRL off season, make sure we're still in fighting shape, and we'll do what we can. So if we can get the win, great. If not, we're going to try a solo breakaway anyway and see what happens. As much as I like these Sunday morning races, I'm not a morning person. Hence having the coffee ready to go on the warm-up. I'd rather be in bed if I'm honest. I've just had a look at the field. There's a couple of good sprinters in it anyway, so it's not necessarily the worst idea not leaving it to the sprint. We got a good chance in the sprint, but I like to gamble, so you know, let's roll the dice. I'm all in. Let's do this. I think it's going to be just really important to not let anybody get away. Last time I was trying to thin the group out as much as I could on the climbs. This week is going to be the opposite. I'm going to sit at the back, I'm going to do as little work as possible, draft as much as I can, let everybody else do the work, and I'm just going to save it all for one big attack. But that does mean that we're going to have to be really careful not to let anybody get away. Maybe if there's somebody that looks like they're a good attacker or they're putting in a good dig, we can try and go with them, but it'd be dangerous to let anybody get away, especially in the last 5k. We've got the two climbs again. The first one's the Downtown Titans reverse, or is that normal? I can never remember. Whichever one, the short one. And then we get a lot of flat, and then we'll hit the, is it the Watopia reverse KOM? I can never remember that one either. The short one there too. So both of those climbs are going to be under 2 minutes. Perfect for us really. So if the field looks weak or I sense weakness, maybe we'll try and get away on the climb. But the first climb's definitely too far to get away solo. And the second one is about 7 or 8k after the climb. So it's possible. It's descent, it's quite downhill after that, but I still think that's a bit far. Like I say, the bridge, that's where I've got my eye. Just after that there's a little ramp. I think it's 2.5k out. That's where we're going to go. And then we get the rollers leading into that descent finish. Alright, I'm psyched for this. This is the first one we're going to try and do solo, so not really sure what's going to happen, but it means I've got to try and save as much energy as I can. Okay, it's time to put the coffee down. Okay, there's not that many signed up, so I'm hoping that it's not going to be a huge field. It looks like sub 20 at the minute. Okay guys, let's do this. It's time to head into the pen. I said we're going to gamble, so let's see what cards we're going to be dealt. As always, when we get to the pen, I'm going to turn the mic off so you don't hear my heavy breathing, shouting, screaming, swearing, and I'll talk you through it. We'll probably skip through some of it because it's going to be about 40 minutes, so I'll fast forward some of this.
Okay guys, so as we head out of the pen, it's a pretty tame start for a B race. So the pace isn't particularly high, it's pretty comfortable. I think everybody's got an eye on the rollers that are coming up with the KOM, so I'm not expecting too much hassle here. We're just going to skip through this one. And as we do, I'll take you to your first pro tip of the day, which is when you're in the middle of a race, make sure you are not already signed up to another event and you have this awkward join event button pop up as you're in the middle of a roller when you've got to push. So definitely don't do that. So we'll roll through to our first major difficulty of the day. It's the Titans Grove Reverse KOM, and we'll have a look at this one in real time just to show you what I do when I'm not trying to push the pace. So last week, if you remember this course, we had me, Colin and Silas from the Snow team all going as hard as we could up this climb in an attempt to thin the field, get rid of as many players as we could, and have a reduced bunch for the second half of the race. However, this time, with my plan of a pre-planned solo attack near the end, I need every last bit of energy for that attack. So my plan is to sit at the back, close the gaps if they open, and do as little work as possible up this climb. So you'll see here that I am just sat at the back, trying to get as much draft as possible. I'm letting those riders push. They're really not going to be able to get away solo here. So as long as I don't get dropped from the front group, I'm fine. Anything else is extra energy that's wasted. If you look at the riders at the front, they're pushing over 5 watts per kilo, and it's basically to try and thin the field like we did last week. However, it's going to be really tricky to get rid of most riders here. It's just not a long enough climb, and your strong riders that will be there at the finish will definitely be able to get through this. So as we can see there, the gaps are opening up a little bit behind me and a little bit in front of me. So I realise here I have to push a little bit, get into that draft, make sure I'm with the front group. So we put in a little bit of an acceleration here just to go around these riders that are starting to struggle and they're getting dropped a little bit off the back. It's a little bit too much of a gap there. Made a little bit of a mistake. I shouldn't have let the gap get that big. But when you gamble, you have to understand these are the risks that you take, and you have to be prepared to put out the energy to get back in. So it didn't take much work to get back in there. The group size is quite big, therefore there's a lot of draft. Look, we're still going 28 kph on a 4%, so I just need to make sure I'm in this group. Put in a little bit of a burst there. We get in over the top in the front 10, and the riders behind are gone, and they're not coming back. So those riders' race is already over, but we're in the front group, and now it's about trying to just sit in, save as much energy as we can for the next climb, the Watopia KOM reverse climb, and we'll be trying to not let people get away. So we'll be watching attacks in the tunnel and just trying to sit in. So I'll make sure that I get on here, get as much recovery as I can in the draft, and then it's going to be saving our energy for the next one. However, what I wasn't planning on was the next one coming quite so quickly. So if we have a look here, we can see a couple of riders are attacking off the front on the rollers here. I'm not too concerned when it's just 1 or 2 riders. There's still a big group behind. The gap's opening up a little bit. There's 3 of them now, and they're really putting down the power. So I can see there's not really anybody chasing in the group behind. There's 1 or 2 riders that are putting in a little bit of a burst, so I'm going to let them work for me. And then when I realise that I'm going to need to make sure I'm in this front group, I put in a burst myself so I don't get dropped. If this group gets away, I want to be in it. I want to be with them. And if they come back, well, so be it. But I'd rather be there at the front. You can't win unless you're at the front. So my choice here is to attack, put in a really big dig. You see I'm going over 400 watts, 500 watts here, just to close that gap and get to the front, because I don't want that gap to get any bigger. I want to be there, recovering, sat in their draft, and letting them do the work for me as much as I can. The group behind does decide to work a little bit here, but the gap's 30 meters, and that is a gamble I don't want to take. So I'd rather be here at the front, put in a little bit of a burst, get a little bit of recovery here. If we stay away, great, and if we get caught, so be it. And as you'll see here, that's exactly what happens. It's far too early for a group to get away. Even probably the 4 strongest riders in the group, unless they are working together as a cohesive unit, it's going to be really tricky to stay away from a group of 8, 9 riders behind who all want to try and catch you. So yeah, it's very difficult. I still think this was the right move, but it's just going to be too much too soon, and the group on these rollers on the descent, the bigger group just catches up to us. They're doing 4 watts per kilo. We'd have to be doing significantly more than that to stay away, and I'm not prepared to put in that work now. I don't want to work with them. I'll sit on them, I'll let them work for me, but I'm not committing to a breakaway this early and pulling. There's absolutely no chance. So the group catches up to us here and things calm down for a little while now. Everybody's tired, everybody wants to recover, and everybody's thinking about the next KOM. So we'll skip through this one and we'll have a look at the next bit. And as predicted, the next bit of fun is in the tunnel. So we've got a couple of riders who are attacking off the front here. They put in a little bit of an acceleration to get away. One rider decides he wants to go with them. And of course, I don't want to miss out on the fun. I want to be part of the party. So I'm going to move up as well. And at this point, there's 5 of us who are trying to get away. So I think this could stick. There's only 9.8k left. We got the Watopia KOM reverse just after the tunnel. So I really don't want to let this group get away. And I think we're probably going to drop a couple of the weaker riders here if they're not careful as we come out of this tunnel right here. So it's time to put in an acceleration to make sure we're at the front of the group. I do not want to let these riders get away. I've got a very close eye on them. I'm trying to let these riders around me help me and work for me. And now when we hit the upper slopes, it's time to turn on the power, move up this group and get to the front. I really don't want to let that group be away at the start of the KOM because that gap could just grow as we hit the KOM. So really putting in a bit of a dig here, really trying to close the gap. And as we do so, the riders up front are still putting on the power. So they're going all in here. They're not really thinking about the KOM. They're just trying to get the gap and see what happens. So I'm going to move up. We're closing that gap a little bit. It's only 1 second now. As you can see, the riders behind me are still pretty much there. We got rid of one rider, but everybody else has sat on my wheel and has let me kind of pull them up. So that's absolutely fine by me. I'm not concerned about that. I just don't want to let the riders at the front get away. If they do get away, I want to be there. Don't care who's with me. So as we do that, we've closed that gap. That took quite a lot of energy there, more than it looked like. And I'm just going to have myself a gel with the KOM coming up in just a couple of minutes. On a side note, is this the optimal way to eat a gel? Something tells me not. I don't think so. Tell me in the comments how you do it properly, because that does not look like the most efficient use of energy during a race. And now we hit the final difficulty of today's course. So the Zwift KOM, it's short, it's going to be probably 2 minutes long, and it's the exact same plan as the last one. Don't go too hard. Don't try and shred everybody, try and sit in, try and save as much energy. My pre-planned attack is only a couple of kilometers after this climb. So again, just don't let anybody get away. Try and save as much energy as we can and just close the gaps, chase the wheels. And for now it's working because the group is still together. We're catching the remnants of the A riders that are just up the road. Nobody's been binned off the back of this group yet, which is a surprise to me. And I find myself moving towards the front of the group just by kind of holding a pace. And what can I say? A leopard can't change its spots. Plan or no plan, I cannot help myself. I find myself at the front and I put the power down, trying to cause a few splits, trying to cause a few gaps, because I can just see there's a couple of riders who are a second or two off the back, and I think maybe I can get rid of half of them here. But it is not to be. It was wishful thinking. I managed to get a little bit of a gap. You can see there's a second or two separating the riders, but they all come back together and I'm the fool because they've not put in as much work as me and we're all in the same boat. So now we're going to skip through to the next bit. And I'm super paranoid about people attacking off the front here. The only way I can lose this is if someone gets away. So I know we're in the danger zone. I wasn't expecting the attacks quite this early out, but somebody makes a go for it and I can't let him get away. I just can't risk the chance that he stays away. So I have to go with him. I have to try and sit on him. And then if he takes me to the finish, maybe I can try and out sprint him, or maybe I can go for my pre-planned attack, but I cannot win if he gets away. So a couple of riders decide to come with me, and in the end, this group basically comes back together again. So here we are, we're in the group, let's see where the next attack comes from. And we really don't have to wait very long at all, because as we hit the sprint banner at 3k to go, one rider decides this is his moment. And I really like this attack. I think it's ballsy. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't want to deal with it. I really wanted to wait a little bit longer till we got to the other side of the bridge before I launched my attack. And I'm thinking, if I'm having to go now, this is way earlier, way more power than I had on budget. So I'm trying to let the rider just ahead of me, the Japanese rider, try and close the gap for me whilst I'm sat just far enough off the back to make him work, thinking he might get away. So I'm being really, really cheeky here. I'm trying to save as much as I can and not let those two riders get away. The rider at the very front, I've got a very close eye on. I'm gaining a little bit on the rider just ahead. He's only 1 second. There's a couple of riders around me, and this is it. This is the moment. This is my pre-planned attack point. So I've managed to do everything I could to save myself for this point. I messed up deploying my power up, which probably cost me a couple of seconds, and now is the time. Nuclear launch. Here we go. Thermonuclear attack. And I am going to try my absolute best. What I'm trying to do here is actually bridge across to the rider at the very front. And as I do so, I spot his power drops off and his speed drops off. And I know I just have to go. I have to fly past him. I was going to try and work with him, but he's just lost too much pace, too much speed. I thought the riders around me would try and come with me, and they've let me get a gap of 50 meters on that climb. That could end up being lethal for them because I don't intend on giving back any time from here. I'm going to recover on the rollers, and then as you see, as soon as we hit any gradient, I'm pushing as hard as I absolutely can until the next little roller, get a bit of recovery, and then just go as hard as we can. The gap is 7 seconds. There's 1.6k to go. That's probably around 3 minutes of racing. So I'm keeping a really close eye on the riders behind me. I'm in a really good position here because the rider behind in second place is actually acting as a marker for me. I can see that if the riders behind catch him, then I'm in trouble. As long as he's not caught and there's a gap between me and him, I feel secure here. So the gap's 4 seconds. The gap to the chasers behind is going out a little bit. It's actually 8 seconds now, and I'm just committing all in. This is as much as I've got in the tank. We hit over 500 watts there, about 8 watts per kilo, and I really, really am suffering. This is the moment where I'm thinking to myself, this was a massive mistake. I am almost out of energy. But as I think that, my head drops, the Flamme Rouge. We go through it and I realise that I am on the home straight now. This is mine to lose. Even though I'm a lightweight rider and this is a downhill finish, I still feel confident with a 6-7 second gap over second place and an even bigger gap over the chasers. I know they're coming in hard. I know they've been saving everything for that last 300 metres. So I just have to really empty the tank. I can't afford to ease up until I am within a few meters of the finish line. And everything is burning now. My legs, the lactic acid is overloading. I can barely stand. I'm huffing, I'm puffing. I'm really just wishing that that finish line was there. You can see the vein in my forehead popping out. I'm getting redder and redder. This is the moment where I realise I'm probably good. The riders behind aren't going to be able to catch me, and that is pure exhaustion on the face. So if you enjoyed my suffering, if you enjoyed my pain, please give me a like, a comment and a subscribe. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm for smaller channels. So that's how you can help support me and the channel and all the pain I put myself through for that primo YouTube content. And there we go, the celebration. I've always wanted to be able to sit up at the end of a ride like the pros do and take your time whilst the riders behind are doing big orange numbers sprinting to catch on. But I was really, really pleased that the pre-planned tactic, the pre-planned attack actually worked. As we can see there, my average power was actually only 3.5, not particularly high. My average heart rate was about 162. My maximum is about 189, so quite a lot lower there. But the story of this race was the attacks and the bursts. The normalized power for this race ended up being 4.2 watts per kilo, a massive difference, and shows you really how surgy it was. Those attacks took a lot out. And if we go back and have a look at the attack power itself, the first minute of that attack as we went up that rise was at 6.36 watts per kilo for 1 minute. And if we look at how that power drops over the course of the attack, for the final 3.5 minutes, it was 5.81 watts per kilo. So that's probably my best 3.5 minutes power for a very, very long time, if not ever. I'd have to go back and check. And it just shows you that if you save your energy, save your watts for the right moment, you can really make a difference. I definitely learned a lot today about how to use my power and when to use it. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.